Hello, good people. Today's post is going to be on love. We're going to talk about romantic love. We're not going to talk about unconditional love. We're going to save that for another day. First of all, I want to preface this with saying I'm definitely no expert in romantic love. I'm currently not in a relationship, haven't been in a relationship for a very, very long time. And so I base a lot of what I'm going to say today on my observations, kind of an outsider's point of view. So, and just from my own experiences with relationships with people. I think that our interactions with friends and family really kind of establish how we end up having relationships. First thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about love as love and hate being very similar, and bear with me. We're gonna. I'm gonna. I guess I should say I'm gonna start off talking about really kind of how messed up love can be, and then as the talk goes on, we're gonna kind of bring it back around to how love can be not messed up. So, and a lot of that has to do with culture. I mean, the Western idea of romantic love really kind of messes with our head. So let's talk about love and hate and how they're similar. And this is important because it helps us to gain a proper perspective about things. We think that love is good and hate is bad. However, love and hate have very similar qualities. First of all, they both are capable um, of really messing with our perception. Love is blind. There's a lot of truth in that. Hate is blind as well. Love and hate both really cause tunnel vision and only allow us to see things that fit into that paradigm. So it kind of blinds us from seeing reality from a bigger perspective. So it's very important to understand that when we're talking about love, because our friends and family will see how our perspective has changed as a result of being involved in romantic love. Some of that I think is due to hormones. A lot of that is just again, the way that we're kind of sold romantic love in the Western culture. And the other part of it is just survival. I mean, we don't, once we build a mythos or a belief system, we don't want to dismantle it, and that's what happens with both love and hate. Hate is very much the same way. If we build a mythos around hate, then we are not going to entertain any thought outside of that, so we become very narrow. So love and hate both will take a wide road and make it really, really narrow. Woo, special effects. So it's important to understand that, because then that takes us to kind of the next thing that I want to talk about, and that's perspective. My friend in Hawaii, Carolyn, hi Carolyn, loves to quote me, because once she every time we would go anywhere, she had this dictaphone that she carried with her, and she'd shove it in my face and go, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" She still does this, actually. And then she has all of these recordings on her computer, and she's titled them all based on what she thought the conversation was about, or what the conversation was about. And one of the titles is "Why Caleb Hates Couples and Puppies," and that cracks me up, because first of all, I don't hate couples and puppies. The truth of it is that the conversation was about perspective, and how when people first meet and couple up, their perspective changes and they become pretty oblivious to how they to other people's, I wouldn't even call them needs, but they become oblivious to how their perspective has changed. Like, their relationship becomes important, and so all the things that were previously important don't seem as important, and so their perspective gets really skewed. And then that's where the puppies come in. And so then a lot of times they'll get pets as a kind of a test to see how the partner is going to be with the child. And so it's like this kind of whole dance, and the whole thing, we don't talk about the dance. We don't talk about, we're doing this dance to see if this is a person that we can get married to and have children with and all that stuff. We just ignore the fact that all this is going on and act as though it's completely normal. But it's really not. It's pretty strange. But the perspectives change and the priorities change. And when the priorities change, then people that are on the outside, friends and family, always end up getting hurt. And then the couple is always very confused. It's like, I don't understand. You just don't want me to be happy. Well, it has nothing to do with that. It's that they have seen that this, they were interested in this and this and this, and then they met this person and all those interests went out the way, and then their interest shifted to this and this and this, and so the family sees that. And so love will cause our perception of reality to change, our perspective to change, and our priorities to change, and it's almost unavoidable. But if we understand that that's going to happen and we can kind of keep it in check, then we don't have to kind of lose ourselves in love. So it isn't that Caleb hates couples and puppies. It's that Caleb doesn't necessarily. I love it when I talk to myself in third person. It isn't. It's just that I don't find the changing of perspective necessarily always a good thing. So there you go. There you have it. So anyway, moving on. Grasping. One of the things that makes love so dangerous to so many people, man, gosh, I sound like I'm hating on love, but I'm not. I'm just trying to get us to a healthy place in love. So the only way we can get to a healthy place in love is if we first find talk about all the unhealthy things about love. Grasping is one of the most unhealthy things in love. Buddha said, and I'm paraphrasing, Buddha said that you have 50 loves, or you have 50 loved ones, you have 50 problems. You have 0 loved ones, you have 0 problems. And he was kind of talking about this idea that once we begin to have feelings for someone, whether they're romantic feelings or friends or family, then we worry about them. But what we're really worrying about is our own loss of them, is really kind of what's going on. It's fear-based. It's grasping. We're grasping at who they are and what they bring to us. And so that's also why we don't necessarily, we anytime anyone around us makes radical changes, even if those changes are good for them, we kind of freak out and be like, "Are you okay? Are you whatever?" Because we're really more concerned about losing the person that we care about than we are about the person that we care about. It's kind of weird, isn't it? But it's true. And it all has to do with grasping. We're grasping at things. We're all kind of in this. Not kind of. We are all in this non-permanent reality of interdependence, and we grasp at things that make us feel like we have some kind of permanence or stability. It's kind of like we're all falling down this hole and we're grasping at roots because we don't want to continue falling. But we know that gravity is not going to suddenly stop and we're going to eventually fall. It's inevitable. So the same is true of people in our lives. We grasp at them. And the interesting thing is we grasp at them based on how they were when we met them, which is really interesting to me because in my own personal life, I've gone through so many incarnations. It would be very strange, and it still is strange when I come back into contact with people that I knew in particular parts of my life. I'm like, wow, and their kind of snapshot of me is like this much of my life, and I realize that about myself too, that my snapshot of other people is this much of their life, and their entire life is so much bigger and so much more. So it's important to not grasp at if we really love someone, we want them to grow and we want them to change, or at least I do. I want them to kind of actually lose that identity and awaken to a bigger one. But that's another topic entirely. Grasping. Don't grasp. Don't grasp. Be more unconditional. If you want to really. And you see this with couples that have been married for a bajillion years. They have kind of arrived at this place of acceptance where they just kind of accept, for better or for worse, sort of. I feel like I'm talking in circles on this one. But anyway, let's move on. This takes me to my next topic, actually, which is loving people as they are. When I counsel people, and when I counsel people about relationships, one of the main things that I ask them, one of the first things that I ask them is can you love this person exactly the way that they are right now without any change whatsoever? And if the answer is no, then they really need to reevaluate things. Because anytime that we base a relationship on what someone could be, what somebody is capable of being, or what somebody might be, we're really setting ourselves up for a really, really bad time. Not only for the person we're in a relationship, for ourselves, because we're constantly going to be trying to drag them to the place where they think that they are going to be, and they are never going to feel like adequate or in the relationship. It's really, really horrible. But when you look at what most people do fall in love with people's potential. And then they wonder why it all falls apart. So it's very, very important that if you if the person has I don't like the way that they dress, or I don't so I love them but I don't like the way that they dress, or I love them but they drink, or I love them but they smoke, or I love them if there's a but, I love them but, then we need to really, really rethink about getting romantically involved or attached to somebody in that way, because our expectations are not fair. They're just not fair. And you have to put yourself in their shoes too, and reverse the thing. It's like, what if somebody said, I love you, I would love you if you were a blonde, or I would love you if you'd quit this. And how would you feel? You would feel like, well, if they love me, they should just love me no matter what, right? But it's a double standard kind of a thing. And a lot of times, like I said, we don't even realize that we're doing it. We don't even see that we're doing it, and that's why it's kind of important to ask us those hard questions. Do I love this person exactly the way they are? Exactly the way they are. At this moment. And if the answer is yes, then awesome. Then you have a shot. Okay. Woo! Now we get into the really, really cool thing. So I've talked about all the downfalls and all the traps and all the confusion about romantic love. Let's talk about the cool things about romantic love. The open heart that romantic love can cause is quite exceptional. I think it was Ram Dass, and again, I'm paraphrasing horribly, that said that when we decide to love, or that our when we are in love with someone, we have a tendency to attribute the love that we feel with that person. And so we think that when we lose that person, we're going to lose that love. And then that causes that kind of grasping and desperation. But the truth is that we allowed ourselves to find that place of love that already existed with us, in us, with that person. And that is also why the more we have relationships, the relationships become deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and more and more and more profound, because we become more and more comfortable with our own ability to be open and our own ability to be loved. It really doesn't have much to do with the other person, to be quite frank. Of course, there's going to be certain people that we're going to feel more comfortable with than others, and a lot of that is genetic and socialization and things. But it's important to understand that it's our own ability to be open with people, that is what we're feeling. So when we fall in love with someone, what we're really doing is we're going to that place of love within us. And we don't ever lose that place. That place still exists, whether that person is in our life or not. Of course, none of us likes to go through that whole, losing somebody and breaking up and all that stuff. It's terribly painful. It's not very fun at all. However, it's important to understand that that place of love still exists. And so the beauty of that is then that can take us to our next thing, which we can find that openness with more people than just our romantic partner, which is, in my opinion, should be the goal in a relationship. That a relationship should be kind of a microcosm, and what we're trying to do, the openness that we're trying to achieve with our romantic partner, we should be trying to achieve with humanity, because that leads to compassion, which we'll talk about in another talk, and it leads to what the Buddhists call bodhicitta, or that greater compassion. So let me give you an example of this. If I have someone in my life that I love unconditionally, no matter what, and if I'm doing a meditation, I can put them in front of me, and just my heart opens and I feel warm feelings. And then I put somebody in my life, like, I don't know, the teller at the bank, which I don't have, I'm kind of indifferent towards, and I put them in front of me, and I can experience the difference between the feelings. Well, then the idea is then to put the person that you have this unconditional love for in front of you, and then to put the person that you are indifferent towards, the bank teller, in front of you, and to generate that same feeling towards the bank teller that you generate towards your romantic partner. Now, this doesn't mean that you walk into your bank and start making out with your bank teller. I mean, if you're in that kind of a reality, then I'll go for it, free hippie love or whatever. I'm not going to judge. But that isn't what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being able to generate that open-heartedness, being able to go to that place of love within yourself with many people. And it doesn't have to be physical love. It's more of this energy thing, being open to. Because then what happens is that same level of concern, compassion, concern for their actual well-being you'll have for this bank teller. That's a good thing, right? Because then when we do this enough, then we'll begin to generate that concern for all beings. And so then we begin to develop compassion. And compassion transcends any individual. Like, if I have love, I could have love for this, but not love for this. If I have compassion, I have compassion. It kind of transcends object. It kind of transcends, object. It becomes more universal. Not always, but the idea of compassion is universal. If I have compassion, it's kind of like saying I love you versus I love. If I love, I just love. If I have compassion, I just have compassion. Um, if I, it's hard to have compassion for this person and not for this person. I mean, it does exist, of course, but you dig what I'm saying? We could talk semantics all day, but I use the word love and compassion to differentiate between romantic love and universal compassion, to avoid semantics, really. But I kind of got stuck in the rabbit hole. I apologize. Today's talk is all over the place, but that's all right. I'm sure you guys at least kind of understand where I'm trying to come from. So this is the idea with romantic love. It's important to love the person where they're at, and not want them to change. I mean, not expect them to change. Because we want everybody to change and grow and be great, but not expect them to change, so that we can love them exactly where they're at. And we can love them if they become, if they do change. We can be supportive in that. That we keep a keen eye on how romantic love will change our perspective on things, and try not to hurt the ones around us while that perspective is shifting. Because, people that used to be important to us won't be important to us. Things that used to be important to us won't be important to us. And it can be very hurtful for the people around you. Avoid grasping. Avoid that feeling that if this person leaves me, I will die. If you feel that way, then you might want to, take a look at things. Love the person as is, like I said. Realize that your ability to love has little to do with that person and has everything to do with your capacity to go to the place within you that is love. And then try to expand that, and so that it leads to the greater love, the compassionate love, bodhicitta, universal love. And that's my talk about love. I hope you enjoy it. Have you heard? The word is love. So leave me some comments down below, or email me at calebstorms@gmail.com. Let me know some topics that you'd like to hear me rant about. I hope you enjoyed the intro. Thank you, the ladies of the Compassion Group, for helping me put that intro together. It was interesting and fun. I love you all. Peace out, yo.